Dude, finished Fallout. Oh my God, that's actually really cool.
I'm telling you, man, I was
No
blown
I
away.
thought
spoilers.
my
No
wife was like,
spoilers.
"What a shit show," and I'm like, she goes, "I'm not watching this." I'm like, I'll just watch it because Deej told me to, and I was like, it actually got really good. So
Yeah.
it's a must watch.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 19 of 2024. I'm Chris Louie, and fueled by bacon-wrapped hot dogs. With me, I have my co-host, Havoc the Mouthpiece, who has not had the pleasure of enjoying said bacon-wrapped hot dog yet.
I mean, I eat bacon-wrapped hot dogs all the time. Are you on the carnivore diet finally? What's going on?
No, I am not on the carnivore diet.
I love how you say disappointingly. Like, why would I ever do something that stupid? It's not below you, bud.
Yeah, it's true. It came about when we were leaving the Giants game, the baseball game, and there was bacon-wrapped hot dog vendors. They just line up there, unlicensed or anything, just sell it. And then my kid's like, "Ooh, I want one! Ooh, I want one!" And then I was like, "No, we'll make you one at home. We have bacon at home. We have hot dogs at home. We'll make you at home." And then I got held accountable to cash that check.
Did the kids like it? This is a real question.
Who doesn't like bacon?
Yeah, he loved
Who
it.
doesn't like bacon? Come on, man.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Were you trying to reassemble the pig back in your stomach? I'm trying to figure this out.
There's no reassembling of any pig.
And we have Glenn Medina, or should we call him Welcome Back Glenn, WBG. Good to have you back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
We missed you, man.
I appreciate it. I miss you guys too. All the love right here.
All the love.
Our guest this week is our new regular, Ben Coral. Did you win that CISO of the Year award, Ben?
Yeah, it was I guess an off year. There just weren't enough good people, so they had to throw me a bone this year.
Dude,
Wow,
congratulations.
so you really did win? Congratulations.
You're not giving yourself enough credit there. Come on, Ben.
Yeah, I looked at the list. There were quite a few entrants and quite a few notable ones. So yeah, you did beat out the best of the best, Ben. So congrats.
Appreciate it.
How do you win? Just by not having gotten breached or what?
That very well could be, but it's really the ratings of your peers, and people like, yeah, I guess this guy's not so bad.
Combined, we have decades of information security experience here, not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This week, we're going to talk about stopping the scammers, the boneheaded move of the week. For our third topic, Brian's favorite phishing kit is back, and close with an interesting topic, and I'll leave it open-ended at that. For our first topic, in both a heartwarming and a highly disturbing story, police in Japan are putting fake gift cards in convenience stores to warn elderly people about gift card scams. In the gift card section, where you would normally find your Google Play and your iTunes gift cards, there are other cards there with titles like Computer Virus Removal Card and Unpaid Power Bill Gift Card. The thought is that if an elderly person or scam victim takes the gift card to the cashier to try and buy it, the cashier can inform the victim that they're being scammed and potentially save them from losing their money. The campaign has been a resounding success in Japan, and they are looking to expand the program. You would think the cashiers might not want the added work of having to counsel scam victims and explain that they're being scammed, but cashiers that they interviewed say they appreciate the opportunity to save people from getting scammed. We're all in this together.
Isn't that a song from High School Musical? We're all in together. Something like that? No?
Never saw it, Brian.
I'm happy to say that I honestly don't know.
Well, one day you'll sit down with your daughter, Chris, and you will watch it and hate it just as much as me. And Ben, one day when you have grandkids, you'll be able to hate it as well. You know, what's funny about this is that we still think that it's the goodwill of the people that are working there. They can inform them. Like, for instance, one of my famous lines that I like to use is people ask me, like, do you care? And I always say, I wouldn't care if you murdered someone in front of me. That actually happened at a Target where I asked the guy that was working, I was like, hey, do you care if I, turn on this camera or something like that. I don't know. He was looking at something. He's like, dude, I wouldn't care if you murdered someone in front of me. I was like, okay, well, obviously, that minimum wage employee doesn't really give two S's about anything.
No, but I really do like this one. I mean, put those gift cards there in order to give that incentive of, ooh, this is what I'm grabbing it for and taking it up there. And yeah, sure, it gives a person an opportunity, but this is where it really helps. Rubber hits the road, be that good person, and ooh, help me save somebody's life savings. Because that's the thing, is how do you protect the most vulnerable in the generation? That's what I really like about this. And it's a very real and practical way.
Are they really the most vulnerable, though? Aren't babies the most vulnerable?
You don't have a lot of money, though, Brian. Or the
That's
means to get to a convenience store to buy gift cards.
True. Can you imagine a baby crawling into a store to buy a gift card?
It's like the IRS is going to arrest me for unpaid taxes unless I get this Apple gift card. It's similar to how bank tellers, I think bank tellers are trained for that. So if somebody makes a very large cash withdrawal, they're supposed to ask a lot of questions just to make sure they're not getting scammed. And then, just like you said, Brian, it's not out of the goodness of their heart. Western Union, the company Western Union, now they are forced to ask people these questions because they got in a heap of trouble for sending dubious and suspicious or obvious scam transactions, that now they're required to ask people these questions to make sure they're not getting scammed.
So money. like the reasonable person of, they saw something that they should have detected it as a scam, but they went ahead and processed it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, Western Union is paid per transaction, so it's in their best interest to facilitate these transactions, whether legitimate or not, until the giant ban hammer of the U.S. government fell on them and they got in a heap of trouble.
Yep.
How about we open up some Western Unions, guys? Easy money.
Thought Bitcoin was supposed to solve that, Brian. We should open some Bitcoin ATMs.
That too. But I mean, now you can get, the Coinstar machines will actually let you redeem your money in Bitcoin.
In crypto.
Now. Yeah. So, think about the bad person or the evil person here that's scamming old people. Like, how hard up do you have to be for money to be able to actually do this and sleep at night? I don't think I've ever been painted. I've never painted myself in a corner where I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go rob a grandma today to make the ends meet. I don't get it. I know you probably could, Chris, but I couldn't.
Different cultures, Brian, different cultures.
Oh, so it's a cultural thing?
I say it jokingly, but there is some credence to that, because I think they've actually interviewed some of these scammers and they just said, hey, it's a job. If I don't do this job, I don't have food on the table and I need to find a way to put food on the table. And there's not a lot of legitimate ways to do it. You find this in primarily high unemployment countries, and it's a way for them to make a living.
So this isn't a guy that lives in the Bay Area that's doing it. What you're saying is it's someone in Gulu, Africa, is what I'm reading.
Or they're just a complete psychopath. That's probably the other explanation.
Or they're also figuring out that maybe grandma has, worked her whole life. She's got plenty of savings that are out there, and let me get a little piece of that.
Bernie Sanders would love this idea.
There's also a culture. I would say certain cultures, like if you say, 10, 15 years ago, it's like, oh yeah, I bought a copy of Windows XP. And someone says, you bought Windows XP? Why don't you just pirate it? And there's a little bit of that too, that they say that buying legitimate software, oh, you're dumb for spending your money. So there are some people that think that way, and they might say, just like what I said, I need to make a living. I need to put food on the table. This is how I get the food on the table.
I used to like the one that's like, you wouldn't download a car, would you? I'm like, back in the day, I would have totally downloaded a car. So I guess it is kind of
technically possible.
Yeah, I'll just 3D print this Tesla. By the way, I do have to apologize to Glenn for how he always pronounces Tesla, because I was watching an interview the other day with Elon, and he says Tesla just the same as Glenn. So Glenn, you're off the hook.
See?
You can pronounce it Tesla now instead of Tesla.
That's just like Hyundai.
No,
Hyundai.
Hyundai. Gosh. Hyundai, damn it.
It's Hyundai because it rhymes with Sunday. I mean, let's do this properly now. And just because Busk is pronouncing it incorrectly does not make it authoritative.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it is
Elon
his
Musk
company.
Has that South
It is
African
his company.
accent.
I would beg to differ with you.
But no, the
Yeah,
3 out of the 4 of
a lot
us
of it.
agree that it is Hyundai, not Hyundai, as Chris likes to pronounce it.
Hyundai.
So you are out of here, buddy.
So
Because
going back,
there's 3 of you voting that way doesn't make you right.
It
so
does.
just going back
It
on
does.
topic here, right? I think you guys fail to realize that the scams aren't happening based off of some call center in the United States. These are third world countries where they probably make pennies a day, right, or pennies per hour, compared to your typical employee they don't see this as a victim. They see it as just money, good money, compared to what they would normally make in a regular job in their country.
Victimless crime.
And the one thing Glenn brought up, I completely missed this point too, was that a lot of these scam call centers, they're staffed by literal slaves. Like they get kidnapped or they go to a country, they're promised IT support work, and when they get there, they're put in barracks and threatened to be beaten if you don't make your quotas. So there's a lot of forced labor with these scams as well.
So what you're saying is we should just give them the money. Just put like a fraction. I'm not going to give you $500. I'll give you 50. Go away.
Yeah,
Don't you do
still
that?
no.
Glenn, don't you do that when people like try to scam you on text? You're like, dude, what's your Venmo? I'll just send it to you. I'll send you $1.
Yeah.
Go away.
I got scammed. I get scammed a lot because I've got this really nice heart. I would like to think heart on people, especially women that are walking in gas stations with their kids. It's like, oh, I feel so bad for you. It's a hot day. Let me give you $20 so that way you can go get a meal. Then you realize she's got a Mercedes Benz sitting around the corner. And it's like, God, this girl drives a better car than me. So it's like,
Yeah.
I just got
Kinda
scammed
ruins it
again.
for everybody.
Yeah.
I can remember
A
when
lot of times that's why I say don't give homeless people money, give them food.
I give them meth. I'm like, dude, let's just make your life even more enjoyable today.
All right. I don't want to know which person you bought the meth off of in order to give the meth to the other one. Yeah.
It's probably someone from his hometown.
Yeah, right. Dude, speaking of like, so meth is like, it's wild. And we're going completely off topic, but as I think most of you know, I don't think you know, Ben, but like my 2 oldest girls are not really my girls. And their biological dad, aka my baby daddy, that was a joke. But anyway, so I'll laugh at it. Screw you
Their
guys.
baby daddy.
Yeah. I think he's got like 13 kids or something like that total. And recently he had like 5 of them. Him and his wife had 5 kids taken away because they're like on meth or heroin or something like that. I'm like, how powerful is that kind of drug that you would be like, my kids are great, but you know what else is better? Meth, baby. I don't understand it. It's sad, but it's a cold, hard reality that I think some of these people, they get on drugs and it's just like they can't control themselves, and I can't understand it. I just don't get it.
Do you think he says, "Hey, man, I got some guy," flip it the other way. He goes, "Man, I got some guy taking care of my kids. I'm living a good life. This ain't so bad, right?"
I mean, maybe if he actually cared about his kids, but in this scenario,
Yeah,
I think he's like talked to my kids
a lot.
5 or 6 times over their the course of their life that I've been a part of
that's
it.
terrible.
So yeah,
What a terrible
Yeah.
dad.
he's
Not
like
winning
Chris,
any Dad of the Year awards
but
there.
better.
I would hope so. A little bit better.
Anyways, yeah, I guess take care of the scammers, guys.
That's it.
All right, and then there's always going to be this cat and mouse game because, like I said earlier, bank tellers are trained to ask people when they take out large amounts of cash, and the scammers will actually coach people to say that, like, oh, by the way, when you take out this money, the bank's going to ask you why. You're going to have to tell them this is for apartment repairs or some other kind of business that involves large amounts of cash that make it legitimate. And then now the scammers might say, oh, when you go to the 7-Eleven, don't grab the gift card that says virus removal. You have to get the iTunes one. But at least for now, it seems to be working. We'll see if the scammers adapt.
So one time, this is terrible. I had we have a friend of the family, and he was doing some, handyman work around the house. I was like, yeah, man, I'll hire you to do that. And so I ended up paying him with a check, and I think it was kind of a lot of money. It was like $2,500. So I wrote him a check, and then my bank actually called me. They're like, hey, we have, so and so here, and he's got a check for $2,500. Did you write this to him? I was like, no, I didn't. I think you stole it. Oh man, he almost got arrested, guys. Yeah. But I was just messing. Yeah, check fraud is messing with him.
Yeah, you take that pretty serious. You actually did that? You said, I never met this guy in my life.
Yeah, I said, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Don't cash the check. And so he called me up. He's like, dude, what the heck, dude?
You mother.
Yeah.
So he's never helped you again, and or the price went up.
Yeah, right.
You owe him a beer, Brian.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you just got to mess with people. Just let them know.
Keep them in check. There's a reason that you only have 2 or 3 friends.
They're all here right now.
All right, for our second topic, in the ransomware story and boneheaded move of the week, the CEO of United Health Group, parent company of Change Healthcare, finally admitted that they paid the ransom of $22 million to the ALPH-V ransomware group, even though everybody knew it already. The CEO also disclosed that the way ALPH-V's affiliate got into their systems was through a stolen account on a Citrix box that did not have multi-factor authentication. This is my shocked face. This time, you can't really be too mad at Citrix. They provided the beachhead, sure, but the ALPH-V ransomware affiliate was able to get valid credentials either through password guessing, password spraying, reuse, or some type of phishing attack. You can blame Citrix and the network team for allowing a single compromised account to access their entire network, or at least pivot to a privileged system that eventually allowed the ransomware gang to exfiltrate all their data and encrypt their systems.
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of glad that he told us what happened. A lot of these times you hear about this ransomware group that got in, they paid it, and you're like, well, I want to know the root cause. Like, what was it? Super sophisticated? There's a 3-letter agency involved. Like, what happened?
State back actor.
Yeah. It's like you never actually hear like what actually happened. In this case, we get to see how the sausage was made, and it is gross. But hopefully hopefully they got rid of the Citrix box and that credential. But man, that's wild.
Well, it goes back to that statement that we've been saying for years: is cyber criminals, hackers, are not going to do more than they have to. They're not going to burn a 0-day to get in. They're not going to hack in this case, when they can log in.
True.
It's just reachable, sad. It's breachable. The other thing we have around here.
Still not as bad as that gaping VPN hole, but still pretty bad because they paid $22 million.
I think when Change originally went down, they did say like, oh, this is a sophisticated state-backed actor that got up all into our systems. And you could potentially make the argument, because I think the affiliate is actually Chinese linked, which is probably related to the Chinese PLA, their hacking group. So technically part of a state-backed acting group, but not in the sense that you would think.
Yeah, but both those things are dangerous. The statements from a cyber insurance perspective, number one, you didn't have multi-factor enabled. So going out and saying we didn't have it enabled, okay, well, you did not have that basic instruction, we're not going to pay. Or if you sit there and say it was a nation state actor, that's an act of war, therefore the cyber insurance may not have to pay for that one. So both of those statements, going public with them, is a little bit dangerous.
Don't you think that's probably their own insurance company that's paying this? Like, doesn't UHG provide cyber insurance as well?
Their own insurance.
Self-insured on this one?
I think they're primarily health, not cyber.
Terrible. All I know is I don't even believe that MFA would have stopped this. This is, again, there's so.
You don't think so?
All right, no, I don't think so. I think we'll talk about EvilGinx and how you can use that to circumvent MFA, right? Like that's a tool in the tool belt. But also, I think there's more to this story, because just because you get in on a Citrix VDI desktop doesn't mean that you have. It's not like you logged in as like a domain administrator to it. I think there was probably some Kerber roasting going on, and eventually, bounced around throughout the network and then took over.
Run Mimikatz, bypass the EDR.
And that's the thing. To Brian's point, was this a targeted attack? And if it was a targeted attack, failing MFA, or if that had failed, they would have moved on to the next thing. But if this was a spray and pray, then they would have just gone on to the next organization.
You know what would be a giant head move is, like, anytime you authenticate and you're doing MFA, or even like a push or OTP, that you just assume that the password's good, right? And then you have them put in an MFA, and then they'll it will just come back and be like, oh, incorrect password. As it stands now, I think, like, if you have a failed login attempt, then it just says, try again. It doesn't prompt you.
Tells you right away. Yeah.
But there is a time limit there. I mean, there's something in there. There could be time limit constraints, right? Or amount of times, like 5 in a 1 minute period or something like that.
Yeah, rate limit them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that probably rules out brute force. It's probably credential stuffing or password spraying or good old phishing.
Yeah.
But then that's where things like we talked about before, residential proxies, using people's residential IPs, and you could do 5 guesses per IP, because if you do 1,000 guesses from a single IP, they're just going to block your IP, and that's assuming they have it configured correctly to do such a thing. But if you do 5 tries from 100 different IPs, then you get 500 attempts that fly under the radar. So Ben, as a former practicing CISO, you get the phone call that says, oops, we had single factor on this box, and that's how they get in. What's your first reaction?
All right, it's like, okay, well, now shut credentials down. Are we doing password resets? What are we doing in order to close the door? I mean, yes, we'll come back and figure out how we missed this system, how our controls were inadequate, how our governance was, not identifying this. But the first thing you're doing is closing the door. All right, what's the scope? How do we stop it? What else might have been done? Do we reset credentials? Where else might they have gone? So yes, close the door, but it's not till we get a little bit later on of where do we fail? How do we make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Right. It's part of that eviction problem. How do we make sure they're out? And then once they're out, how do we keep them out? Yep.
Containment. And of course, we want to get business back up and running as usual as well. But we also need to make sure that as we're eradicating them and kicking them all out, that they're not going to just walk right back in.
For our third topic, Brian's favorite phishing toolkit, EvilGinx, is getting their own upgrade and a technical partner integration with the GoPhish phishing platform. EvilGinx was one of the first phishing toolkits that had the capability to intercept and steal multi-factor authentication codes to defeat two-factor authentication. Integrating with the GoPhish platform now adds hidden image tracking to know if the victim opens the email, alerting when a victim clicks on a malicious link, and an alert once this session has successfully been captured with the EvilGinx phishing kit. All the more reason to stay vigilant and watch out for those phishing scams.
So, is GoPhish a good thing or a bad thing here? I'm missing.
It's a bad thing.
It is bad.
It's got to make things worse.
Okay, I'm like,
EvilGinx was already a pretty good phishing kit, and then now that they're technically doing a technical partnership with GoPhish, that GoPhish is like another phishing toolkit that pre-makes these.
I read it as Fish Me. That's why I was like, wait a second. Yeah. I was like, that's an odd integration to have. Okay.
Yeah, it's like all these security companies. Is it a phishing toolkit or is this a phishing prevention company?
I mean, so GoPhish is more of an open source framework. So if you don't have a solution, you don't have a security awareness training, you can install the GoPhish. But once you install GoPhish, you have to create all your own templates. You have to create everything. You're doing a lot more work yourself because, again, it's that open source. But I've known organizations that have run their entire security awareness phishing training and phishing simulations utilizing GoPhish. So back in the day, a few years ago, that was a viable tool or solution for you if you wanted to do that. So when I started reading this one, I'm like, where in the world, how are they utilizing that and misutilizing that, I guess, is the question.
So why were people using GoPhish back in the day? Was it just because it was open source and free?
It's free. Yeah. And if you have these requirements, you're a small to medium sized company, you don't feel like you're quite ready to go to a KnowBe4 or someone like that, but you want to do business with a larger company and they require you to have this. So for a check mark, compliance doesn't equal security, but in order to be compliant, you say, yes, we stood up this solution. We are actually doing this.
Check mark compliance, the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
And probably yours, right?
Absolutely.
It's everybody's. Whose isn't?
Pesky auditors.
I'll never forget the first time we did PCI compliance at American Airlines. The QSA came in. He's like, yeah, you guys doing this? He had like a check, like a piece of paper. I'm like, yeah, we do that. And he's like, you do that? I'm like, yeah, we do that. You do that? Yeah, we do that. And then the next year he came in. They're like, hey, do you do that? I'm like, yeah, well, show me. We're going to have a problem here. And
he got wise to Brian.
and then it was like we were so far out of compliance that they took the fine of, I think, $50,000 a month, just because there was just no way we're going to get compliant in like 6 weeks or something. So we're just like, we'll take the fine and we'll just spend the next year trying to remediate. So
wow.
And pass those fines on to the passengers.
Yep.
That's where those baggage claims came from, or charging for extra bags and things like that.
As long as it wasn't a charge per day, right? Per day, per month. It's not a continuing fine. It's just one fine, right?
No, the fine for us was $50,000 a month. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Until you're compliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when crude oil was like $100 a barrel, I think it was Doug Parker came on like an all hands. He's like, there's no way any airline can sustain this. And it's like, we're taking measures to figure out how to make this better. And so that's when, before, like, you would just see that it was either first class or coach, right? And then they're like, we have this new thing called choice seats where you can pick your seat. And it's just like the closer to the front of the plane, then the more expensive the ticket was. You want to sit in the middle, then it's a little bit cheaper. But you want a window or an aisle. And I remember working on the project, I was like, this is crazy. And then like, we're going to do this thing where it's called Net Tracer. And we'll be able to track baggage and stuff like that. I was like, oh. And then associated with that was like, well, now there's this baggage fees on up the wazoo. So I remember asking like the all hands that, like, as we're getting ready to launch it, I was like, so when crude oil comes back down, we're going to like lower prices on all this stuff. They're like, no, man, it's here to stay. Like, this is just part of the business logic.
Don't reduce prices. Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's just like the government. It's like they never met a tax they didn't like.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. And then the other one that we worked on was if a plane was delayed, you were immediately, and you had a connecting flight, your flight was immediately your seat was canceled. And they just rebooked you. So if you flew in 5 minutes late and you're at A3 and your connecting flight was at A5 and you had, you just had to walk, they're like, nope, you're late. And so we did something with, I think it was like Microsoft BizTalk back in the day, where it mapped out all the airports and it would calculate like how, if you were the last person to get off the plane, could you get to the other gate without having to cancel? Like, it was pretty cool. It made it a little bit better, but yeah, it was pretty whack.
So you have all this advancements in airlines, and then we have this story of like Southwest failing because their 25-year-old software couldn't boot up, or bad database patch.
Yeah. Well, it's still at the end of the day, they're all on mainframes, with the exception of, I don't know if it's across all of them, but like Allegiant, for all the things that it is, they wrote their own booking software in modern, but everyone else, like the, British, American,
the
United.
Stone Ages.
Yeah,
Sabre.
it's all mainframe. Sabre. Yep.
Yeah. Unbelievable that thing's still around.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Even if you can't patch it, just leave it there until you absolutely have to move.
And if it ain't fixed, call it a feature. Not a bug.
And
And this Y2K / Space Cowboys situation where the only people that know the software are long retired. And if you want to bring them out of retirement, it's like $500 an hour.
But that's the thing is you sit there and like, do we fix this or do we just wait and make this somebody else's problem? I've only got 2 years left till I retire. I am not going to work on this project. It's someone else's problem after me. And that attitude
buying
is just,
time.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go hire a young guy to go do this, or a young person. let them burn that. So
Yes.
You gonna try this out, Brian? Are you gonna tie the EvilGinx with GoPhish?
No, I'll let you do it. What were you gonna say?
Send some test emails.
Oh, no, I don't think I have the willpower at this point in time. Then again, who knows? I was reading the link. And it seems like it's pretty simple to set up, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
well, I'm wondering if I can
you
tie
clicked
it
on the link. He just fished you. So yeah.
Joke's on him. I'm on Zscaler.
It opened up in an isolated window.
It did, yeah. I'm my own tenant, though.
All right, for our last topic, and it will be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about Enshittification, the 2023 American Dialect Association's Word of the Year. It sounds bad, but it's actually not a swear word. I actually had to look this up to make sure we don't get censored on any of the platforms we use. Technically, the term means the gradual decline of tech companies, but I take it to mean the gradual decline and slowly making worse of anything. So do you guys have any examples of enshittification?
I see exactly where they were going with this when they started the idea of this word. So I'm 100% on brand with this, to be honest with you. But I would say probably fast food.
Yeah, I can see that.
Not that I like it a lot, but it's super expensive and it's not that fulfilling anymore.
McDonald's.
Yeah, Taco Bell used to have the $59, $79, $99 deal, and now the cheapest taco there is like $3.
Absolutely. I mean, you take a family of 4 or a family of 5 and you're dropping $75. I mean, no, it's not that good.
You used to be able to get at Olive Garden for that price. Now you're like barely getting enough Big Macs for that price.
Yes.
My wife and I went to Chipotle yesterday, and just me and her, and like the total cost was like $23. I'm like, how the heck did this happen? This is normally it's like $100, right? I was like, oh, it's because we don't have our 4 kids with us.
And the guac is always extra. Maybe you got no guac this time.
No guac this time. My wife did get the queso cheese. It's like an extra $1.45, man. Trying to gouge me over here.
And you're like, I did not approve that. I don't know if I like you that much that you get the extra toppings, you know? Yes.
You know, with my wife, I'm okay. It's the kids sometimes it annoys me, especially like if they go out with friends and like they're just like they walk in, they're like, yeah, I want a bowl, double meat, quesadilla, the queso cheese and the guac and a bag of chips. I'm like, I was like, dude,
$30 meal right there.
It totally is. And so like I told my daughter, I was like, hey, when you go to Chipotle tonight with your friend, I'm like, you get the exact same thing as your friend. Like, don't go out. Like, and sure enough, right? Had I not said that, she would have been like, double meat, give me the cheese, give me the.
But that's the Chipotle hack, though, right? Because you can go to Chipotle and ask for double everything when you're in line after you said you want something. Get double everything, and it's all included. Did you guys know
really?
That? Yeah.
No.
Included.
No,
yeah,
it's not
meaning
included.
Explain, Glenn.
You don't pay for the extra meat.
No, you pay for it. They put the
Look
little
up-
thing next to it says you got double.
Look up the Chipotle hack online. There's this thing.
All right, I will because I eat Chipotle.
I don't see how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they send it down the line, they scoop double meat, and then there's a little.
No. If you ask for double meat ahead of time, you get charged.
Uh-huh.
But if in the middle of a scoop, they've already started, and you ask for extra meat, they have to give you the extra meat.
Oh! I am liking this.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you feel like they didn't put it, they shorted you on the scoop. You could say, hey.
Yeah.
But what if I ask for quadruple meat? How do I get around this one?
That's your problem. But I said, just watch the Chipotle hack. There is a Chipotle hack on it.
I'm with you on that one.
I will look this up on TikTok later.
But no, because last time, I was in Chipotle. My son goes and it's like he's ordering his bowl. He gets everything that's on there. Orders everything there, and then he's like ordering extra tacos. and he's ordering 2 stinking meals, and he's going to eat all of it. And but he does it every time. Man. And then he goes out to lunch with his friends, orders like he does when he's out with me, and he comes back and he goes, I didn't realize just how expensive Chipotle was.
Dude,
here's a lesson, son.
Exactly.
My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, anytime she was with me, she knew that I would not say no. So she's like, oh, I need cigarettes. I'm like, oh, I'll buy you a cigarette. She's like, can you give me a couple cartons? I'm like, fuck, yeah, I guess so. Right? Like, I would just like whatever you want. And then I remember she would always be like, oh, can we stop at Wendy's real quick? And I was like, yeah, what do you want? 2 Baconators. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I forget what happened. I don't know if it was my daughter was with her or something like that. Anyways, they went to Wendy's, and my mother-in-law paid for Wendy's. And so when I came over later, I was talking to her. She's like, I had no idea a Baconator, 2 of them was going to cost me $20. That's like, it's not even fries, right? Just straight up, big sandwiches. Yeah. So
I'm shocked that, is that like a whole day's meal? Because I don't
know. Come on, man.
2 Baconators. That's the other half of it is the shrinkflation. The prices go up and the portions go down.
Well, yeah. So I go to Cane's Chicken. You guys heard of Cane's Chicken?
Yeah. My kids love it.
And you can order a 3-piece for $10, a 4-piece for $12, or you can buy the individual pieces of chicken for $1.99 each. Well, I didn't want 3, I didn't want 4, I just wanted 2, and my daughter wanted fries. I order it, it's $8, so I'm like $2 shy, $2 or $3 shy of a 3-piece that comes with a drink and everything else. And I'm like, I really don't need that extra piece, right? I get home, and instead of this nice piece of chicken that I think is going to be very long from a tender standpoint, it was like, I swear to God, it must have been just 4 inches in length. And I was like, what the hell is this? I wanted to take a picture.
4 inches is not enough. Are you good?
Yeah.
Glenn, that's 8 inches right there. What you're showing me, that's 8 inches.
I should have took a picture and showed you like what $1.90. It's $1.99 for each piece of chicken. And I thought, what a ripoff. I should have took a picture, just sent it back to them about how pissed I was on that.
Chicken nuggets.
Take it back. They'll give you
chicken nuggets, yes. Yeah. They hold those off to the side.
Yeah. They did.
Yeah, the prime example of Enshittification is Amazon. So the guy who actually came up with the term, his thesis was Amazon. And that was actually, when I first heard the term, this was the first thing I heard of, because when you think about it, Amazon was the low-cost leader. They could sell at a loss, put all these other e-commerce businesses out of business, then they can raise their fees, and they become popular, so all the sellers have to go there. So the platform got progressively worse and worse. And then my beef with Amazon, of course, is the Prime. Prime started as $99 a year, unlimited 2-day shipping, and then they threw in a couple of other things, the streaming stuff, and then they started taking things away. It doesn't include Amazon Fresh anymore, and then now Prime has ads, so it's like just slowly getting worse.
Hey, I don't like Amazon, but mother of God, Fallout was good. It was worth the 30-second video that I had to watch, the ad, before finishing the entire series in 2 days. Yeah, Fallout was amazing.
I know Glenn and Brian have seen. Ben, have you seen Fallout yet on Amazon?
I have not, but I have a trip that's coming up, so I think I know what I'm going to be watching in the hotel.
Gonna binge it.
It was good, man. It was, and every episode's like an hour and 15 minutes long, too. Well, I think there's probably 15 minutes worth of credits, but it's a solid hour. You'll enjoy it.
Just be ready for the first episode to go, what the heck is going on? That's all I'm going to tell you. So...
Well, then the same thing with the last episode too.
1, so that's where we're at.
First and last. Last episode, you're like, what the hell? Like, seriously? Like, this thing, it's messed up.
Yeah. Oh,
How many episodes?
8. 8 for the first season. Yeah.
Yeah. They renewed it for season 2 even before season 1 was released. They had that much confidence that it would do well.
It's based off of a game that I've never played, so then again, I don't play video games.
It's a game franchise, Glenn. It's not just one game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
it's a franchise.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, there's Fallout 1, 2, 3, 4, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 76. There's a lot of Fallouts.
Yeah.
I didn't play either, so...
I knew there was a game, but I didn't realize it was a whole series of games. So
yeah.
Well, if anyone knows, it's the human internet right here. So
yeah. Actually, I'm lying. I think I bought Fallout 4 because I heard it was good, and I played it for like 15 minutes. I'm like, why the hell is my dude walking around naked? I have no idea what's going on. The game is so... Wolf is trying to get me
out of the cryogenic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah,
right
4 in New Vegas, I think, were the best. 76 you can skip. 1 through 3 might feel a bit dated, but...
So does the movie make sense now? Does the game make sense now after you've watched the movie?
Yeah,
I'm the opposite of you. I've played the games. I haven't finished the series yet, but I heard it's good as a standalone, and if you're a diehard fan, you'll get little Easter eggs throughout.
Okay.
All right, back on topic here about Enshittification. Uber, I would say, and the term also means that it applies to platforms, and on every platform there's buyers and there's sellers, and the platform has to please both sides. So I think that's what happened with Uber. So they started really cheap rides, disrupted the taxi industry. Riders were really happy. The drivers were not happy because they get a cut of whatever the fare is, and the fares are artificially low to gain business. So then they had to please the drivers. So they gave them all these benefits here in California. They get like full health insurance and everything. So the drivers got all these benefits. What did they do? They raised the prices. So now the riders are angry because Uber is no longer cheaper than a taxi. So they had to keep flip-flopping back and forth, progressively making the platform worse.
It's only a matter of time before someone else comes out with like the new version of Uber where it's super cheap. Right, this is like a never-ending cycle. Put Uber out of business.
That's Waymo. Waymo.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay a driver.
But that's the thing is when Uber started coming out, I was traveling a lot, so I was taking these taxis, and you get in this taxi, and this taxi's beat up, it's run down, it looks like it's 40 years old.
It smells like a cigar bar.
Exactly. But then Uber has these requirements of the car, has to be so new, has to be clean, and all of that. But now that Uber's been around for a while, I'm jumping into towns, and I'm jumping into this Uber, and this Uber's probably a rundown car as well.
It's like a bucket, yeah.
Yes. So
the one I took to the city had both rear triangle windows knocked out, both of them on each side. I got in. I'm like, I'm going to sit on the other side because I don't want this draft the whole time. I'm like, oh, don't bother. Another one's knocked out too.
Oh,
what the heck?
Yeah, but then you sit there and it's like, how do you rate these? Because that's somebody's job. And I don't want to sit there and really ding people because that's how they're paying, instead of, scamming grandma for gift cards. They're out there actually hustling. They're out there working. Yeah. So...
Yeah, but if you pay for a service, you expect some level of service, right? Correct. I got in the back of one, and it was I don't know what she had back there, but what animal, but it was an animal that licked every piece of the window and the seat, and I was just grossed out, and it smelled so bad. I'm like, how did you pass any type of inspection control? Right? Because this is really nasty and probably unhygienic. And if it was a cat, it'd probably explain why I was scratching, because I'm allergic to cats, right? So
itchy, yeah. It's a health code violation then.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'll say this, right? How many of you guys say, "Hey, I've got a taxi waiting for me," or I've got an Uber? Even if I'm taking Lyft, I never say Lyft because it's hard. It's like, "Hey, what did you take over here?" I took an Uber. Right? Or no one really says, hey, I took a taxi. Now. Yeah, it's become a verb. So, interesting.
Googling it. I'll Airbnb it. I'll Uber it. It's entered our daily lexicon.
Yeah.
And I know Glenn's got to go soon, but the last thing I will say, things that have gotten progressively worse over time, kids' feelings. And I only bring this up because I was at a kid's birthday party recently, and my wife had this brilliant idea, like, let's get the kids up. Let's let them play some games. We played musical chairs where one kid gets knocked out every round because you have one less chair than kid. Sure enough, the first, 4 or 5 kids that got knocked out just like threw a fit and started crying because they lost. I'm like, yeah, kids need to learn how to lose gracefully nowadays. Not this whole everybody gets a trophy, everybody wins deal. It's okay to lose.
Man, I've tried so hard to understand that, like the whole the kids' feelings thing. I can't get it. Like I feel like you're just setting them up for failure. Like I know it sucks to lose, but
you gotta learn.
You gotta learn, right? That's what makes
that's
why you don't want to. That's why you want to win. Is because there's the incentive.
Winners
right there.
here.
Well, I'll give one for you guys. How about an adult that still acts and throws tantrums like a kid? My mom was in the hospital, and this past weekend, she's in a roommate with a girl that's got to be in her 20s, and her mom's in there with her, and her dad's in there with her, and she's crying and throwing a tantrum because she doesn't have the right blanket, and the air conditioning's not the right temperature, and where's my iPad? And it's like, oh my God! Like, can someone just strangle this little kid and tell this little kid, this young adult, and
She's
tell
a grown woman.
yeah, shut the hell up.
Wow. Yes, but
There was one of our coworkers. He said that he was at a coffee shop. He's up in, I think, Oregon or something like that, and he had reached for a coffee. He thought they said David. Because he reached for the coffee, and this lady came up to him, and she's like, "That's my coffee." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it said David." And then the manager, like, she was kind of making a scene, and he goes, and the manager came up and goes, "What's going on?" He's like, I accidentally grabbed her coffee. I thought it was mine. I'm sorry." And she goes, "I'm not a girl. I'm a they, them." Fell on her knees and started screaming with her arms in the air. And I was like, "Dude, you cannot be serious." Like, "What'd you do?" He goes, "This is literally the 4th time it's happened to me, Brian." I was like, I was like, but, and here's the part that I don't understand. Like, if you are not a girl and you're a they, them, how do I
Wear a sign so that way I know.
How would you know, right?
yeah, like,
Yes.
so, like, to let's just say, to be respectful, right? And you don't want to make that same mistake later on. I grab its drink, like, I don't, like, I'm sure that's probably offensive, right? And so, yeah, I don't, like, I think you should have, like, a little bit of leeway. Like, if, "Excuse me, sir, I'm a they, them, not a girl." Got it. Not a problem.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Point taken. Don't.
But
Yeah.
but to fall on the
cause a
ground
scene.
screaming as a 23-year-old person, human, that's just wild to me. So, yeah.
and that's the thing is I sit there and, for most of my life, military family and all of that, just grew up, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And how do you get over that? And that is an insult. "I'm not a ma'am."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know
There's
what
that
the response
GameStop
is
video
then.
a couple of years ago. It was like, "I'm not sir, it's ma'am."
Well, hopefully one of our listeners can explain it to us in a dialect that we'll understand. Probably not, though.
Well, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, our guest Ben is up.
All right, I know that Brian is going to love this one because we're going back to innovations and all of that with our word of the day of Enshittification. But it's, of all the inventions of the last 100 years, the dry erase board has got to be the most remarkable.
Wow.
It is remarkable.
Wow.
It is. Golf clap, everyone.
Very true. All right, to wrap things up, Japan is trying to protect the vulnerable from scams. Change Health was hacked through Citrix and single-factor authentication. Watch out for the Office 365 phishing pages, and beware of Enshittification. That's all I have for this week. We hope we enjoyed this week's episode. Find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all listeners and subscribers who rate us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-host Brian Deitch Glemnina and our guest Ben Coral, I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend as always. Have a nice day.
Thanks for listening to the very end of this podcast. I will give you $5 if you find me at, I should say, 5 Shroot Bucks if you find me at RSA. That is all.
The Walkers, Coral.
Walker's Ball.
Have a nice day.